Don't you hate it when Spotify like automatically turns off the looping feature? I like to listen to the same song over and over again, and I hate it when it turns it off. Sorry, let me just sing you back a bit. Done. Okay. Hi everyone. Sorry, I just recorded a video for Blender 3.1, the release. I was a little bit delayed on it for a few different reasons. Mostly my own doing. And wait, what was I doing? Oh, editing Blender Nest, that was it. Oh, okay, so that's not always my own doing. Sometimes I get help from other people in the Blender Nest crew to do the editing. More specifically, Paul Kajeji does quite a lot of it. Other people do offer, but I don't really like to impose the workload on them, but I probably should. So I think I'll need to release episode 61 today. But my word, there's so much to do. I mean, it took me long enough just to make this video, but there's so much like other cool stuff that happened in the community, and I don't just want to make videos talking about what's been happening in the community, although they do tend to do quite well. It just feels a bit cheap, but I feel like I'll need to do another one soon. But then there's all kinds of other things as well, like I wanted to do all sorts of product updates, and then there's like a few pieces of artwork I've been working on that I need to do breakdowns for, but then there's all the new features in 3.1 which I know I'm going to make cool stuff for. It's like, okay, just need to focus, maybe just methodically make them one by one. They don't need to be perfect, and get on with it. And then there's like a whole list of other basic tasks, but I can't complain about being busy. Also, I should say a thank you, because the Generators Lab pack, when that went up, that broke Gumroad records for me. You know, I kind of had like low expectations for that, but it seems like people have really enjoyed it, and a lot of people wanted to support it, so that was really fantastic. But anyway, so what are we going to do in this video? It's been a while since I made one on this channel, so let's take a look at my list. Turn my music back on. Okay, so there are a few questions asked on previous videos, which I'm ashamed to say I kind of slacked on getting around to. But also, before we get to that, yeah, let me talk about like responding to people, because I put a tweet out about this. If I can be bothered to do editing, I'll like put it here. So when you get to like a YouTube business of this size, and by this size I mean like, you know, post 100k, it can get a bit overwhelming sometimes. I describe this to people where it's like, okay, I'm technically, with all the different elements of the business going, like all the resources, the products, the affiliates, the YouTube channel, the sponsorships, etc. It's like, it's enough to live on, but it's not enough to pay someone else to help with yet. So there's like this in-between purgatory zone where the workload is too much for you, but it's not enough for two people. Or, well, it is enough for two people in terms of the workload, but the money isn't quite there. So that's where I'm sitting right now, kind of in that in-between zone. So one thing I've done recently is kind of done a bit of self-reflection on what's important in terms of like business tasks and stuff. And I've decided to basically, in a very polite way, maybe I shouldn't say this, stick a middle finger to like every collaboration and sponsorship offer. And I've said it in a very nice way, like, you know, I'm kind of just a bit too busy for this quarter because I've got way too much that I want to do and I want to play with. And everything is going fine at the moment, so I don't need it. So I'm basically just like trimming off all the things that I really don't need. I'm also trying to spend more time responding to community members rather than like, you know, business elements. And honestly, I'm feeling a lot better about it now. Sorry, I'm just moving the camera a bit. It fell over. Don't fall over on me again. Anyway, one question that came up is, where do you best connect with the Blender community? It feels like it should be a fairly obvious one. This is going to annoy people because it's sideways. Do you see how difficult it is for me to keep like a single train of thought when I'm like not actively in that kind of recording mindset? Okay, where to best connect with the Blender community? Reddit, Blender Nation, Twitter, Instagram, Discord, all things like that. The obvious things. The obvious digital congregation points of communities. Those are the best places to connect with the Blender community. But honestly, I think Twitter's a really good one. It's kind of like where the professional minds live and connect and discuss and share their work and stuff like that. But Discord is better for like that kind of, I guess, more intimate connection, especially if, you know, like the text channels are quite active and they have public voice channels, which we do have on mine, but I don't really use them that much. But I'm going to try and make an effort to jump into them more often. And I guess kind of like what we've spoken about in a previous video as well with the art challenges. I guess taking part in challenges is also a really good way to connect with the community, because you'll bump into other people that are kind of working towards the same goal, and you can make notes and compare and share, and maybe that's a good like kind of opening for a discussion topic. So there are lots of ways to connect with the community. How important is organization? That's another one. Quite, but the caveat to that is, I would say, don't obsess over organization, because you can lead yourself astray. You know, I've gone back and forth on like the extremes of this. I've been like so totally unorganized, and it's just like really not helped at all, because when you're working on like, I don't know, 10 projects at the same time mentally, there is no way to like keep everything in your short-term memory. Even writing stuff down on note paper wasn't enough, because there'd be like stuff on other pages and just like, you know, dislocated notes thrown around, and it just doesn't work out. So you need something to help you organize, like, and just, I guess, keep track of, or keep a storage of all your ideas and tasks and stuff. And so that's why I use ClickUp and Trello. Trello is more like the ideation and concepting space if I need it, and ClickUp is like the, okay, it's time to sit down and complete tasks type of software. Maybe some people just like stick to one software and like just make that their whole thing, but I use, you know, multiple. I've tried to figure out and see if there's a way I can also integrate Notion into my workflow, but there's no necessary space for it at the moment. But I guess the other thing I use is Google Drive. I use Google Drive quite a lot. And then there's also just like the aspect of organization on your computer. I've gone through like all different types of folder structures when making videos over the years, and I used to like really segment things down into different categories, like, you know, YouTube videos, and then it'd be like the type of series, so like tutorial, discussion, add-on stuff, news, etc. And then I'd go into there and we'd have like all these different layers. Now I don't do that. It's pointless. Now it's just videos, preparation, and then the video folder for like the specific video I'm making. No need having those extra categories. And then once the files aren't needed anymore, they are gone, baby. And honestly, I can probably really simplify that folder structure even more. I should invest time in cleaning up the files I don't use. Because honestly, when you're like moving through your different folder structures, if you just stop and think, how often do you open most of those extra folders there? Probably never. Do I need them? No. And it's probably a lesson I'm going to have to learn, because as we're going to be moving to the new house, I'm going to have to be throwing away lots of the stuff that I own. And I feel like there's a similar concept there when it comes to organizing your files. Just get rid of everything you don't need or don't use. Next question, will 2D be overtaken by 3D? No, they're complementary skill sets. I feel like that's a pretty, you know, obvious one. They go hand in hand, but they can breach into each other's space. So I guess like the perfect example of that is the grease pencil. 2D kind of amplifying the 3D space. But also, you know, that raises the question of stylization versus realism. Is there space for 2D work in realistic stuff? I don't know. It depends how realistic you want to go. If you're going for like full realism, then technically everything would be simulated in 3 dimensions, but you can fake realism using 2D techniques. But likewise, going the other way around, a lot of concept art is benefited by 3D blockouts and 3D sketches and stuff, so you can take that into like Photoshop and then do paint overs as you like. They're not in conflict, I would say. They're very, very complementary. I think the real question would be, will 2D be overtaken by AI? And ooh, that's an interesting discussion topic and a bit of a spoiler for maybe some future content. Okay, well, I think those are the main questions which I needed to answer. So let me just move those to a different tab on my ClickUp. Oh, here's another thing as well. Is procedural art low effort? I was going to do a video about that on the main channel, but I guess that's just another one of those things which fell away, which is the same with like so many ideas. Procedural art being low effort is obviously like a yes and a no answer, because yes, it's low effort by design. It's supposed to reduce the amount of effort that's put into, you know, making artwork. But at the same time, it affords you more abstract and parametric control over the results, so you can generate more results in a shorter amount of time. But of course, you know, it brings along the stigma of low effortness, and I agree with it. I mean, I too hate seeing people just doing like random AI generated artworks and throwing them on Reddit and being like, hey, I made this, and like, you know, being really, oh yeah, look, it's so cool. No, man, you just, you know, you pushed it through, you pressed a button, that's all you did. But I feel like the real value in procedural art is how it's used in combination with other skills. Also, the input into procedural systems is possibly just as important as the output. You know, if someone spent like hours and hours and hours and spent like so much time preparing a really interesting and important and like high quality, well thought out piece of input into a procedural system, and then they didn't do anything to the output, I think that's okay, because the effort was still there. Sure, you might look at that and go, oh, they just pressed one click and it generated the output, but does that really matter if the input was so well crafted? And likewise on the other side, you know, like using procedural systems for concepting, which is, I guess, one of the main selling points of the ByGen add-on. If you're using something to help yourself and inspire yourself to generate ideas at the beginning of your process, and then you take that and then put so much effort into it afterwards, then I think that's also perfectly viable, because you're kind of bringing yourself to a new concepting point and then using your artistic skills to take it even further. I feel like that's where a lot of the benefit in AI-based systems will be. They will take over certain parts of the workflow, but they're not going to take over the entire workflow, because I feel like the heart and soul just isn't in it. So like with AI-based systems, procedural systems I think feel a very similar purpose. Is the reflection on my eyes a bit too like jarring? So with procedural systems, we're designing tools which are going to, you know, occupy different parts of the workflow and assist in the content creation process. Ultimately, the goal, just like with everything, is to make more content in a shorter amount of time, with the hope that that enables artists to produce more interesting, more engaging, and more valuable content. And maybe content is a bit of a damaging word to use. I saw an interesting video recently by Strufless, I think it is, about how like artists are becoming content creators. It was a really interesting video talking about things which I guess I resonate with quite a lot, which is whereby chasing the algorithm, you're not producing things which have much depth. So I guess you can look that up if you're interested. But yeah, that's just like a little bit of rambling. I think the is procedural art low effort question is too simplistic, because it kind of highly relies on everything surrounding the procedural system to define whether or not it's a low effort, you know, piece piece of work. So I've been trying to think of ways to kind of incorporate more discussion content on the channel, and one of the main bottlenecks which prevents me from making videos here is the fact that just setting up the recording equipment takes an extra step of effort, which kind of prevents me from making that, that cognitive leap into, yeah, let's actually begin making content. Originally, kind of at the beginning of this channel, I was taking some gameplay footage and using that as background footage and then talking over the top of that, and that would become the video content. But I don't know, there's something about that which kind of, again, feels a bit low effort, I don't really like it that much. It also turns playing games into a bit of a job, which I don't really want to do because it's one of my main outlets. But again, I think this is one problem that's going to be solved by having the new studio, because I'll be able to actually have the space to do pre-set up recording systems, so we can just click and go and just go on and off like that. What is this video now? I don't know. I'm just getting stuff out of my system, because when it comes to recording videos, that looks kind of cool actually. Look at that kind of specular light going across the top. When it comes to recording videos, I get kind of psyched up and I record it and then it's done and it's oh, is there anything else we need to make? And I feel like it's just a wasted amount of time. So let's talk about something else. Ukraine. That's going to be controversial. I have been quite emotionally affected by the whole Ukraine situation. I've been speaking to a lot of people in my server. We have a kind of secret channel now called the Situation Room, where we share news pieces about what's going on. And I did a tweet a while back kind of just saying, hey, is anyone else having this weird feeling where they feel like their personality is going through a fundamental shift recently? That's I feel like my personality kind of has been, and it has been spurred on by the global situation. Just generating a lot of, it's not anxiety, it's more like a perspective shift. We're kind of wondering whether you're actually doing anything significant for the world. And I have been thinking about that with the channel a fair amount recently. So are there any long-term aims that we can aim for, which are more significant and maybe a bit more legacy leaving, I guess, if that's a term you want to use. So I've been working on an anti-disinformation project, which by itself, that term doesn't really mean anything. And I don't really know if I'll end up sharing it on the channel anyway, when it's kind of ready to go, but I just thought I'd throw that out there. That's kind of it's one of the projects which is helping me to kind of feel like I'm actually contributing something, something a bit more purposeful, so I don't feel completely useless while everything is going on. Also, because artistic expression is one of our main outlets, I made a piece of artwork just for the Ukraine situation called Defiance. It's got that character there, a female one, because I don't often use female characters, and for I guess other reasons relating to war. It's got the kind of red arms coming around, they're kind of looking a bit violating, and we got the Ukrainian color scheme going on, and they got the volunteer band, and there's some other symbolism going on if you want to kind of take a look, and you can read into it and interpret it how you like. But it is interesting how world events like this kind of shift your sense of importance and your sense of the future and kind of the decision making process. And I feel like it has actually been part of that shift as to a change in mentality for how I respond to people as well. I feel beforehand I was all very slow and considerate and trying to go out of my way, I guess that's the term to use, when it comes to responding to people and helping people. And now over the last few weeks I've just become much more of a no bullshit kind of attitude. I guess maybe it's less friendly in some situations. I think it's just more kind of defending my time. In the end it just boils down to, hey look, there's more important things going on in the world right now, we don't need to kind of fuss about all of this pointless stuff. But hey, that's just how it is. But anyway, hey, I guess I've got to get back to work, preparing more videos, completing tasks, keeping myself busy, just fueling my addiction to task completion, and trying to find more confidence to express myself. Oh god, there's so many new features to try. Alright, thanks for entertaining my rambling. Stay safe, genuinely stay safe. If there's anyone from Ukraine, I don't know if anyone from Ukraine will watch this, but if there are, then honestly, much love to you. Let me know if you need anything, I guess. I don't really know how to help, but I guess that's what I'm still figuring out with the unspecified project. Alright, please look after yourselves, everyone. Stay safe, stay productive, and I'll see you next time.